Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today I want to talk a little bit about Cloud9 and LS, two parties, two separate entities that are forever, at least for the near and maybe even medium tier future, they're going to be linked together. And I've talked about this before, how I think it is a little bit crazy that it is now June. I believe LS was fired in like January or February. He only had like 2 actual weeks of coaching the LCS team since he missed the lock-in tournament and then got here for the first and second week of the LCS season and then was fired in the third week, if I'm remembering that all correctly. I believe that's exactly how it all went down. And the fact that this is now 4 or 5 months later, and a lot of it has died down. There's not as much talk about all this stuff, but there is still a lot of talk about this. You still see Liandry's profile pictures all over Twitter, and like, that's fine if you are a big LS fan and you want to support him and all that stuff. That's great, but still, those people show up on Cloud9 tweets, Cloud9 posts, Cloud9 YouTube videos, on the Cloud9 subreddit, with a lot of just hate and overall negativity for the organization still. Some of it, I totally understand, you know, if you really like LS or you really liked LLS and Cloud9 coming together, you think it made the LCS fun, you think it, was exactly what the LCS needed or exactly what Cloud9 needed, or it gave your favorite team, your favorite region, your organization, maybe some hope at international events or all that stuff. I get it. We all have a favorite team, a favorite player, a favorite coach, whatever, and, not getting to see them in competitive play, that kind of sucks. You know, I'm a huge Bjergsen fan, and seeing Bjergsen retire and be a coach last year, that wasn't the same. That sucked, that hurt. And if TSM would have been the ones firing him or removing him or whatever, yeah, I might be a little bit mad and a little bit upset with them. But like I said, for how short the LS coaching stint was with the team, for people to still be as mad and upset as they are this much later, I do think is a little bit strange and a little bit weird. And that's why you see a lot of Liandry's profile pics getting kind of roasted all over social media, which I think is pretty funny as well. And that kind of leads into the whole point of like, I've done this before as well. If you want to get the easiest Twitter likes in the world, go to like any Cloud9 tweet, go to any Cloud9 post, and just make a joke about LS. It can be anything. It can be like, Cloud9 could tweet out like, oh, I hope you guys have a nice day today. And like, there'll literally be somebody like, oh, we'd have a better day today if LS was back on Cloud9, you fuckers, or something like that. Or like, oh, we'd have a better day today if you didn't backstab LS. Like, super, super funny. But that gets to the point of today's video, rounding all the way back, of this. Some interesting things that made me kind of start thinking about the whole situation. We saw this, which was LS and Fudge. LS tweeted out, day and night in Seoul with the Fudge Factor. Took him to some of the best spots in the country at Fudge Keiki. And this was Instagram. I don't know if they streamed this stuff or not. I thought this was a stream, but this is just an Instagram post. Fudge ended up making a post as well. He said, had to see LS before leaving Korea, and then it's a picture of them together. This got 11,000 likes. Obviously, Fudge, very popular. LS, very popular. Seeing these guys come together was really, really cool, especially for a lot of fans who has enjoyed both of them and enjoyed both of them together during their stint with Cloud9. And, so I think this is kind of interesting. Obviously, Cloud9 was over in Korea for like a boot camp, practice, training, whatever, in between spring and summer. But this was also a little bit interesting to me because Fudge and LS have been friends. So kind of in a vacuum or in isolation, it doesn't seem that strange or that out of the ordinary to see, a couple of friends hanging out, a couple old friends being able to get back together. Yes, Fudge is a part of Cloud9 and a big part of Cloud9. In a lot of ways, Cloud9 kind of sees Fudge as their franchise player. I think Blabber has a lot to do with the C9 franchise as well, but Fudge, he is like their young guy. He's like 19 or 20 years old. They're building around him for the future. They gave him like that 3 or 4 year contract or whatever. He's doing so much of their content and everything. So he's a big part of this organization. And just because LS got fired, that doesn't mean there has to be bad blood between him and Fudge or anything like that. But we also know that Fudge has come out and said a lot of things about LS's time with Cloud9, about the LS even firing. If you look up Fudge LS on Google, and this is what I did here, you can see the top result is, Fudge on LS leaving. It was probably the best outcome for both parties involved. You can see here's the full quote down here. It probably was the best outcome for both parties because it wasn't really working. So here soon we're going to get clarity on the LS situation. C9 is still going to be a very good team. And I covered all that back when it happened. This was in February of 2022. But then even fast forward to more recently, there was an article in May where, Fudge came out and was saying things like, yeah, LS, he has an aggressive style of talking with people, or, he yells or gets really animated or excited or whatever when he's talking to people. And when he's talking to me or people he knows and people who know him, it's maybe not that big of a deal. But he was doing that to people he didn't know so well. He was making people uncomfortable. He was making people, he was rubbing people the wrong way. And he was, again, kind of reiterating the point that, like, hey, even though he didn't really mind how LS was acting, or, it never really bothered him, that he was bothering some people at Cloud9, and it was probably for the best that he was fired or removed from the team, or that the two parties broke it off or whatever. And when I have covered some of that stuff, I had said, well, hey, this is a guy in Fudge who is friends with LS. Yes, he is a member of Cloud9. Yes, Cloud9 pays his salary and all this stuff, but a guy who is friends with LS doesn't have a reason to really lie, I don't think, or fabricate some of these stories. And if Fudge was lying about LS, or was misrepresenting these things, or was making LS look bad, in a way that was going to be offensive, or that LS wasn't going to like or whatever, then I don't think these two guys would be hanging out right now. So, I do think it gives even more weight to some of the statements that Fudge was making, that yes, the LS and Cloud9 situation was not working out. Obviously, that's what management thinks, and that's what management ultimately decided. But even now, to hear that from a player, but also a friend of LS, somebody who has, or at least seems to have, LS's best interest in mind, and again, based on them hanging out and still being friends and stuff like that, I think LS tends to kind of agree with that some of that stuff as well. Now, again, LS is a content creator at the end of the day, and I'm sure he has played into the situation. Obviously, people were very, very upset with Cloud9. People were showing a ton of love and support to LS, and I do believe that in the moment, LS was probably very, very upset, very angry, and wanted some maybe revenge against Cloud9, or wanted to get them back, or wanted to rile up the fans against them, and I'm sure he felt that. But now, fast forwarding a couple months later, I wouldn't be shocked if he also believes, like, hey, yeah, things clearly weren't working out, things potentially weren't going to work out, and maybe it was for the best that they both got split up. Now, like I said, LS is a content creator at the end of the day. He benefits on having more eyes and more fanfare and more craziness to these whole situations. And when he went as far as to say that, like, oh, he's getting his lawyers involved and all this stuff, maybe acting like he was going to try and do something against Cloud9, or whatever he was saying his lawyers were going to do. Obviously, nothing really ever came out of that. He doesn't have a lawsuit against Cloud9. He's not doing any of these crazy things. They were maybe trying to figure out, all the options of what was going to happen when their contract was getting ultimately settled and disputed and all these things. Now the two parties were breaking off and all that stuff. But I do think to some extent LS and his fans probably exaggerated the situation a lot. But also, one of my bigger points here is that obviously it seems like for the most part, LS is past this thing. LS is still friends with Fudge. They are still hanging out. They are still together. Even though Fudge has said it was for the best. He said, LS, I'm not shocked that he got removed. I think he probably, should have been removed. It was for the best at the end of the day for both parties. And if LS is past it, is still friends with Fudge, if they can still hang out, if they can still talk, if they can still be, in a good whatever state of mind together, if their relationship can still be at an okay point, then a lot of these LS fans who are even more removed from the situation, they're not even personally involved in the situation. It literally has nothing to do with them at all. I think it might be time for some of them to move on as well. I think it might be time for some of them to maybe stop with all the negative comments, opinions, all these things on a lot of the Cloud9 posts, harassing Jack, harassing, different members of the organization, all that stuff. LS is past it. It seems like he's moved on. Might be time for some of those other people to move on as well. We also had this from LS. Cloud9 and PacSun recently had a new collab where, PacSun is selling some, I think, pretty dope Cloud9 stuff in their store, which is just really generally good for esports to have, some of their team's merch and just clothes and logo and branding, all that stuff in some big popular stores that people shop at, but also having it look like cool looking stuff that people can actually wear and, kind of using as branding and marketing and all that stuff. But LS retweeted this. He said, retweeting because I think esports brands being in a mainstream store, even one I used to go to a lot as a teen, is pretty sick. Which again, LS, he is saying he's retweeting this because he thinks it's a cool thing that any organization is getting into mainstream stores, but he's retweeting Cloud9 stuff. Obviously, whatever hatred or despise or, I'm never watching a Cloud9 game again, fuck Cloud9, all this stuff that a lot of the LS fans and Leandri's profile picture and all that stuff have. LS doesn't seem to share those same thoughts and those same sentiments, at least to the same extent as the fans. And if anyone has the right to be as mad and upset about this whole situation as possible, it's definitely LS. It's definitely not those guys. And there's definitely going to be some of those guys in the comment section of this video as well. And I don't know. I just wanted to share this information with everybody and get some of my thoughts and opinions out. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you guys think about this story. Obviously, anything to do with LS and his firing and the whole situation is going to be very polarizing. So I know we're going to get thoughts all over the place, and that's totally fine. I shared my thoughts. You are more than welcome to share yours as well. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hope to catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.